Mickey Rourke is one of those actors whose career took off almost instantly. He didn't have to spend years playing pizza delivery guys in the background waiting for his breakthrough. Mickey became a star within just a couple of years. It's quite possible that his rapid rise from an unknown extra in a Steven Spielberg film to one of the biggest sex symbols of the 1980s was the reason he couldn't handle the pressure, often finding himself at rock bottom. The actor admitted that he lost himself in fame, recklessly blowing through millions on all sorts of nonsense, renting yachts, hiring bodyguards, and supporting his friends. After wild parties, he'd often wake up under a park bench, completely clueless about how he got there. Today, let's talk about the career of this remarkable gentleman and take a closer look at some of his most iconic films. Many believe Mickey's breakthrough came with his role in Francis Ford Coppola's Rumblefish. Alongside Rourke, the film featured two other actors whose careers later took off, Matt Dillon and Nicholas Coppola. But in the 1980s, Rourke shined the brightest. Dillon's career stalled soon after, while Francis Ford Coppola's well-known nephew wouldn't find real success until the 1990s. Rumblefish wasn't a big hit in the US, but it performed well internationally. Thanks to the film's modest budget and rave reviews from critics, its underwhelming domestic box office numbers didn't hurt anyone involved in the production. This is another unique aspect of Mickey Rourke's career. He was never a huge box office draw. However, by consistently starring in quality films and earning praise from both critics and audiences, he managed to remain one of Hollywood's highest paid actors. The next two films Mickey Rourke did after Rumblefish also failed at the box office: The Pope of Greenwich Village and Year of the Dragon. In 1984, Mickey was offered the lead role in Beverly Hills Cop. He accepted and was paid $400,000. However, due to production delays, he never actually filmed it. As a result, he earned $400,000 simply for waiting 6 months for production to start. If Mickey had starred in the film, it would have been quite different, so there's no guarantee it would have been the massive hit it became. After turning down Beverly Hills Cop, Mickey signed on for the film that ultimately cemented his legacy and made him the sex symbol of the 1980s. It might seem strange now, but many expected 9.5 Weeks to become the showgirls of its time. Not in terms of quality, but because of its troubled production, which people believed would lead to a box office failure and a harsh critical reception. The film's production was extremely difficult. There wasn't even a hint of chemistry between Rourke and Kim Basinger. They absolutely loathed each other. Nowadays, a film like this would be impossible to make due to the on-set nightmare that unfolded. Director Adrian Lyne forbade Basinger from speaking to Rourke and constantly told her how much Rourke hated working with her. With Rourke, however, Lyne behaved differently, discussing future scenes and praising his acting. He completely ignored Basinger, refusing to talk to her about the film, which drove her crazy. Lyne intentionally shot the film in chronological order, so as Basinger's frustration and anger grew over the months, her real emotional breakdowns aligned perfectly with the film's climax, which required exactly that kind of intensity. Basinger strongly criticized Lyne's working methods, and after production wrapped, these behind-the-scenes stories became public. However, despite her anger toward Lyne, she considers 9.5 Weeks one of her best films. In interviews, she often expresses regret that the film was heavily cut, depriving audiences of much of its original content. The significant amount of the film was indeed edited out. According to official reports, there were over 14 hours of footage featuring Kim Basinger. MGM chose not to use much of it, fearing it might be too intense for audiences. None of these deleted scenes ever made it into the theatrical release or any director's cut. The film was supposed to be released in 1985, but due to extremely poor test screenings, MGM repeatedly sent it back to the editing room. Because of the numerous delays, rumors swirled that the film might not ever be released at all. It finally hit theaters a year and a half after filming wrapped. Unsurprisingly, the film flopped in the US, and Kim Basinger even received a Golden Raspberry nomination. This film could have easily ended the careers of both Rourke and Basinger, but when 9.5 Weeks was released internationally, it became a massive hit. In France, it played in theaters for almost 5 years. Even in the US, the film found redemption. When it was released on home video, it ranked among the top 3 best-selling titles of the year. Later, it even became one of MGM's biggest home video hits in history. The criticism and poor US box office performance were quickly forgotten. Almost every Hollywood director wanted Mickey Rourke in their films. He was receiving so many offers that he had to turn down several scripts a day. During this period, Mickey became one of Hollywood's most notorious role refusers, a habit that would later have a significant impact on his career. It might seem amusing now, but in the 1980s, the roles Mickey Rourke turned down often end up going to Tom Cruise. The funniest part? Those very roles kept making Cruise an even bigger star. Top Gun wasn't a guaranteed hit. It had a modest budget and uncertain prospects. Mickey Rourke decided not to take the risk, while Tom Cruise, who didn't have many options at the time, accepted the offer. As a result, the $15 million film grossed $353 million at the box office. Mickey Rourke was also the first actor the studio approached for the role of Charlie Babbitt in Rain Man. However, Rourke usually chose roles with higher pay, and since he was offered more money for Johnny Handsome, he went with that instead. The role in Rain Man ultimately went to Tom Cruise. Oliver Stone, the director of Platoon, spent a long time trying to convince Mickey Rourke to join his film. Stone wanted Rourke to play Sergeant Elias Grodin, but Mickey wasn't interested and turned him down twice. In the end, the role went to Willem Dafoe. The only refusal that seemed justified was Mickey's decision to turn down Brian De Palma's The Untouchables. After he passed on it, the role went to Kevin Costner, whose career skyrocketed thanks to the gangster film. Rourke, on the other hand, chose to star in Angel Heart. While it flopped at the box office, it later gained cult status and is now considered a classic. During the filming of Angel Heart, Mickey Rourke and Robert De Niro had a falling out. According to many in the industry, the conflict started out of nowhere. De Niro flat out refused to communicate with Rourke on set, believing that maintaining distance would enhance their performances. While De Niro had used this method before, Rourke took it personally, as no one explained why De Niro was ignoring him. Since then, Rourke has repeatedly insulted De Niro in the media. At one point, he even claimed that De Niro was the reason Martin Scorsese didn't cast him in The Irishman. According to Rourke, the role was practically his, but De Niro intervened to have him removed. Then came perhaps the most surprising rejection of Mickey Rourke's career. You can only imagine what Dead Poets Society would have been like with Rourke in the lead. He didn't turn it down immediately. He showed interest and spent some time discussing it with director Peter Weir. But eventually, he walked away and Robin Williams was cast instead. With a budget of $16 million, the film grossed $235 million. According to Weir, Rourke wanted changes to the script that he wasn't willing to make. In the end, Rourke lost his temper and quit. The next day, Weir was informed that the actor had officially declined the role. Instead, Mickey chose to star in Wild Orchid, where he met his future wife. As expected, the film flopped at the US box office. However, it performed well internationally and later became a huge home video hit, much like 9.5 Weeks. But with so many rejections and frequent box office failures, Rourke started receiving fewer and fewer offers. It was around this time that Rourke starred in the film that earned him the biggest paycheck of his career. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man was another iconic 90s duo. In some countries, VHS copies of the film were as popular as Die Hard. But unlike Die Hard, which remains beloved worldwide, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man flopped in the West and received mediocre reviews. Critics absolutely tore it apart. Mickey himself isn't a fan of the film. In one interview, he admitted that he never wanted to do it and only agreed for the money. He considers it a mistake and believes a string of similar decisions led to his career's downfall in the early 90s. According to him, the only bright spot in the film was Don Johnson. The movie itself, as well as its director, were utterly terrible. In the early stages of development, Harley Davidson was supposed to be played by Bruce Willis. Willis was eager to work on a film with his friend Don Johnson. However, pre-production dragged on for 3 years. Eventually, Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man became too small of a project for Willis, who had by then become a major star. When he backed out, the role went to Mickey Rourke. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man grossed only $7 million against a $23 million budget. By this point, Rourke was so frustrated with his acting career that after the movie's failure, he decided to switch to boxing. From 1991 to 1994, Mickey fought in 8 professional boxing matches, winning 6, with the other 2 ending in a draw. It was during this time that he first turned to plastic surgery. Alongside his boxing career, Mickey continued acting, but studios stopped offering him major roles, forcing him to settle for straight-to-video projects. After leaving boxing, Rourke tried to return to Hollywood. 2 films from this period stand out: Bullet and Double Team. Bullet, where Rourke starred alongside Tupac Shakur, was originally intended for a theatrical release. However, poor test screenings led the studio to send it straight to video. Double Team made it to theaters, but like most of Van Damme's films at the time, it failed to find an audience. The failure of Double Team hurt both Van Damme and Rourke, whose return to the big screen had been widely anticipated. Around this time, a rumor about Van Damme started circulating, that he frequently got beaten up in bars. According to the story, Van Damme would walk into a bar, give someone the wrong look, and end up getting punched by an angry biker or farmer. Mickey Rourke helped spread this rumor. The story stems from an incident at Scores, a nightclub where Van Damme, Mickey Rourke, and Chuck Zito, who had worked with both actors, were hanging out. Zito and Van Damme got into an argument, which quickly escalated into a fight. According to Rourke and Zito, Van Damme didn't stand a chance. Mickey later claimed that if he hadn't stepped in, the world might have lost its famous Belgian action star. By the late 90s, Mickey's career had hit rock bottom. According to him, he was living on just $200 a month. For the first time in years, he found himself pushing a shopping cart through a supermarket. Then Sylvester Stallone stepped in and saved him by offering him a role in Get Carter. Mickey said that at the time he couldn't even afford food, but Stallone not only brought him into the film, he also covered most of his salary out of his own pocket and fought with the studio, which didn't want Rourke in the movie. This gesture meant so much to Rourke that years later, he agreed to appear in The Expendables out of loyalty. He admitted that if Stallone had asked him to run around naked on set, he would have done it, because Stallone was the only one who helped him when he was at his lowest. After Get Carter, studios started offering Rourke small roles in major Hollywood films. He appeared in Once Upon a Time in Mexico and Man on Fire, which led to him landing a lead role in Sin City. Then came The Wrestler, a film that, at least for a while, finally restored his reputation. Despite its small budget, Darren Aronofsky's film performed well at the box office. Rourke's performance earned him an Oscar nomination and a Golden Globe win. For his role in Iron Man 2, Mickey earned $400,000. After that, he appeared in The Expendables and Immortals. Perhaps Rourke's career could have recovered, but his plastic surgeries became a major problem. He admits that he went to the wrong doctor, who ruined his face, and every attempt to fix it only made things worse. He says he can't even look at himself in the mirror, and is deeply upset about losing his former appearance. Today, Mickey is back to starring in B-movies alongside actors like Gary Daniels and Eric Roberts. Another comeback seems unlikely, but hopefully, if he made wiser financial decisions this time around, at least he won't have to push a shopping cart through a supermarket again. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.